Ethan was a curious young student with an insatiable thirst for knowledge. His favorite book, The Adventures of a Wanderer, had been by his side ever since he first discovered it in his grandfather's dusty attic. The worn pages, filled with tales of exploration and wisdom, had inspired him in countless ways. One day, Ethan reached into his backpack and realized, to his horror, that his beloved book was missing. Panic surged through him as he retraced his steps throughout the campus. He visited the library, the cafeteria, and even the seldom-used benches under the old willow tree, but to no avail. The book was nowhere to be found. Frustration gave way to despair as days turned into weeks. Ethan couldn't shake off the feeling of loss. Without the book, he felt incomplete, as though a vital part of his identity had been stripped away. His grades began to slip, and he found it difficult to concentrate in class. One afternoon, while wandering aimlessly through the park, Ethan stumbled upon an elderly man painting a landscape. Mesmerized by the scene, he struck up a conversation with the artist, who introduced himself as Mr. Reynolds. Over time, Ethan began to visit the park regularly, spending hours talking to Mr. Reynolds about art, philosophy, and life. Through these conversations, he learned to see the world from a different perspective. Mr. Reynolds taught him that experiences were as valuable as any book. Books hold knowledge, but experiences impart wisdom, Mr. Reynolds would often say. Inspired by this newfound wisdom, Ethan began to embrace life more fully. He joined clubs, participated in community service, and even embarked on his own adventures. Slowly but surely, the pain of losing his favorite book faded away. One crisp autumn morning, as Ethan was packing up after a camping trip with friends, he heard a familiar crinkle. Buried at the bottom of his old hiking bag was The Adventures of a Wanderer. A rush of emotions overwhelmed him, but this time, it wasn't just joy, it was an understanding. Holding the book close, Ethan smiled, realizing that true knowledge comes from the harmony of books and experiences. From that day on, Ethan cherished the book, but he no longer depended on it entirely. Instead, he sought to balance his love for reading with a passion for experiencing life. The world became his classroom, and with every new adventure, he wrote the pages of his own story.